Of public school children in the state of Arizona today are minorities. That complicates racial integration because there aren't enough white kids to go.
I want to say that I am emphatically not a white nationalist. Everybody looks the same, everybody talks the same, but that's not the case with African Americans and other racial groups because they don't melt in, they don't blend in, they always look different.
Comments that there aren't enough white kids in classrooms to go around. We've heard comments that African Americans just don't blend in.
And I apologize to the public. I want you to know that I am sorry.
We have some breaking news that is just coming into our newsroom. Prescott lawmaker David Stringer has just resigned. He has faced 2 ethics investigations stemming from racially offensive comments and a reported arrest back in 1983 on sex crimes charges.
Mr. Stringer, you've made this apology. Do you still believe some of the things you've said? Do you still believe there are not enough white kids?
Sir, I don't filter my comments through the press. My comments speak for themselves. My comments speak for themselves.
And good evening, I'm political editor Dennis Welch, and this is Politics Unplugged. State Representative David Stringer is out. He resigned from office because he did not want to hand over court documents related to a sex charge back in the early 80s. It was a surprising move in the 11th hour on Wednesday as he tried to get a judge to block a House-issued subpoena from the Ethics Committee. Here's my report from how it all went down that night. You are looking at the final moments of David Stringer in office. Just 2 hours after we shot this video, he would resign amid scandal and an ethics investigation.
60% of public school children in the state of Arizona today are minorities. That complicates racial integration because there aren't enough white kids to go around.
The problems for Stringer started last summer, and it would only get worse when he tried to apologize at a bizarre press conference at Lolo's Chicken and Waffles, a soul food restaurant in Phoenix.
I do apologize for anyone that was offended by my remarks.
Then there was the bombshell report in January from the Phoenix New-Times that Stringer was charged with sex crimes in 1983. According to the newspaper, one of those charges included child pornography.
To get your comment on the latest on the investigation.
Little is known about the case, and most of the records have been destroyed. For months, Stringer refused to speak about it publicly. But last week, the House Ethics Committee gave him a deadline. Turn over what documents remain by 5 p.m. today. And in the end, Mr. Stringer chose to step down instead of hand over the documents. And despite the controversy surrounding him, Stringer still had supporters at the state capitol. Here's his seatmate from Prescott, Noel Campbell, on Wednesday. And do you think Stringer's getting a fair shake from his colleagues?
I don't. I don't. I think that I would never vote to expel a member of this body for anything they said, ever.
And joining me now is the president of the East Valley chapter of the NAACP, Roy Tatum. He's been one of the people really leading the charge, calling for Mr. Stringer to resign now for quite a while. Your thoughts on how this all wrapped up?
Well, this is long overdue. We are happy to see that David Stringer will no longer be a state representative in the Arizona House legislature.
And your group had called for a boycott of the Prescott area, and we'll get to that in just a second. But I would like to get your reaction to Noel Campbell, his seatmate there, who said he would never kick out somebody for what he said, obviously referring to some of those racist comments out there. Your thoughts on that?
Well, this is why we wanted to bring this situation to light in a broader manner, because I believe this has turned out to be a good old boy network exposed. People were covering for David Stringer, protecting David Stringer, standing up for David Stringer publicly and privately, and Noel Campbell's comments are very disappointing to hear, and I mean, it's just indicative of what we've learned about Legislative District 1.
Now, it's almost a 180. I want to show you a statement from the Prescott Mayor Pro Tem Billy Orr, and she released this statement that said Representative Stringer made the right decision. Now our community has the opportunity to move forward. Now, you have worked and talked with Prescott City Council. How has those talks been going, that relationship going?
The relationship has been very, very good. We've had amenable conversations. They understand our concerns. We've been very clear with the city of Prescott and Mayor Mingarelli about the concerns in regards to David Stringer and the language that's been used and the conditions that may find that African Americans, Latinos, Muslims may find themselves in Prescott. And Mayor Mingarelli wants to let me know and wants to let Arizona know that Prescott is inclusive and they're working to be more inclusive. And so our conversations have been very good. And I can say now, as David Stringer has resigned, we no longer have a boycott, an official boycott in place, because that was the condition of our boycott.
All right, so it has been lifted now. I mean, what kind of reactions are you getting from your community regarding the Stringer resignation?
Many people are happy. Many people are happy to know that David Stringer is out of office and that he's no longer a state representative. However, there is concern about who's going to come up next.
Yeah, and that's one of my questions is what message do you have for his replacement? I mean, obviously it's a process now.
Sure.
Over the weekend, they will select 3 nominees. Those nominees will then go before the County Board of Supervisors in Yavapai County, who will then select one of the 3 nominees who was picked by the precinct committee members out there. Names that have been floated out there, someone like Ken Bennett, former Secretary of State, former Senate President Steve Pierce, among some others. What message do you have them if they're watching here tonight?
Well, the message is clear. Be fair, be honest, be upfront about who you are, but also there's no need to be a racist. No need to exclude anyone. We have a very diverse community, and everyone should feel safe and should feel comfortable wherever they choose to live in the state of Arizona, and especially in Legislative District 1.
Now, I want to go back, and you mentioned something about a good old boy network
Yes,
being
sir.
exposed. Maybe you can unpack that a little bit and explain what you mean by that, and do you think that it's still an issue up there?
Well, I think it's definitely an issue. We're talking old constituencies, old relationships, and for some, old money. And so many people want to protect those investments, and they want to keep things the same, and they're adverse to change. And so this is where David Stringer's comments came into were a problem. When he said there's not enough white kids to go around, he's talking about preserving a way of life. When he said blacks don't blend in, he's talking about a threat to the way he thinks life should be. So those are code words in white nationalist circles, and we know that.
And let me ask you about this too. I mean, it seemed like it really ended up doing him in at the end, was that the sex crime charges, they went back to the early 80s. A lot of pressure for him to release more details. He did not want to do that. Right. But it wasn't necessarily the racist comments that he has been making.
I'm glad you bring that up. Because I think it's important to note that the broader call for Stringer to resign did not come immediately after the racist comments, but it came after the sex crime charges and the proof of sex crime. So to me, the message from some of our legislators is it's okay to be racist. It's not okay to be a sexual predator.
But the thing was that he was reelected. I mean, most of those comments came out before the election last year, and he was reelection. Yeah. And, some folks, I think Mr. Campbell was saying, look, he's got a right to say whatever he's got to say.
He does.
Whether you like it or not.
He does. He has a right to say whatever he desires to say, but we as voters have a responsibility to choose the best candidate to represent all of us. And I'm hoping that this is a wake-up call to the people of Prescott, to the people in Legislative District 1, to thoroughly vet who they're sending to the legislature, in any legislative district. Properly vet who you are sending to the legislature to represent you. This is an embarrassment on the Arizona House Legislature to have someone like a David Stringer representing.
All right, well, very well. We're going to have to end it right there, but thank you very, very much for joining us. This is Roy Tatum from the East Valley chapter of the NAACP. And up next, Mark Kelly now has an easier path.